And how does that feel? Because like when you're around a team for a while, you kind of know the ones who will be the Joey Vottos and talk for a while comparatively to maybe the younger guys. There's some veterans who just know how to work the game. They're going to make it as short and sweet and possible as possible because they know how a lot of times you can tweet something out, it gets twisted, what have you. What's it like to kind of watch a guy, I don't want to say blossom, but have a certain interaction with the media after perhaps that wasn't the case over the season?
Yeah, and a lot of them don't know sort of the expectation of what they're going to do. And my favorite example of that is, Buster Posey, in his rookie year with the Giants, or first year he's in the World Series in 2010 with the Giants, all the reporters were complaining to each other that what a jerk. He only stayed for like 2 minutes in front of his locker. And I can't remember the circumstance, but you know how catchers are.
Yeah.
They're viewed as the go-to person, especially after a great pitching performance. And that whole World Series, I was hearing, God, Buster's a jerk. What a jerk. What a jerk. And I mentioned it to his representative when the World Series is over, like, boy, just going to give you some feedback. People thought that Buster, who I hadn't spoken to at that
Right.
point, they thought he was a jerk. And he said, hey, would you mind talking to him about it? And so within 5 minutes, I get a phone call and it's Posey. And he was like,
Wow.
what were you hearing? And he goes, he goes, well, what was their expectation? And I walked through how, look, if you're a catcher in the postseason and you've been there, there's wave after wave after wave of reporter,
Mhm.
and they don't share the quotes. He might get asked the same question 6 times because they wave cycle through. And I told him that, and he was like, no one told me that.
Mm.
He had no idea that was a culture. And I gave him the example of Benji Molina, who, when he was with the Giants, he would go in and he'd get a bottle of water, he put a towel over his shoulder, and he knew that he was going to have to deal with that. And I think for a
Yeah.
lot of the players, just a learning process. And he was great after that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned him. When I had my sit down with him, you could tell he took a few pauses to answer some of the questions. And I have a tendency to kind of come in hot because same thing. I think I have like a 3-minute window and he's gonna just disappear, right? And he was great about that too. He is low-key very funny. I think that he
Oh,
doesn't want to be
totally. Dry
totally,
sense of humor. Yeah.
totally. I don't think he wants to be bothered though, so I don't think he shows off his humor as much, but I talked to Alex Wood about this recently. If Buster Posey's in your clubhouse, the entire clubhouse is different. His presence alone
Yes.
just shifts everything. The fact that he called you is such a veteran move and such a leader
And he was
move.
a second-year player who was
Yeah,
learning about everything. Yeah.
that's
And
amazing. The second year he did that?
yeah, it was after his first
Wow.
World Series appearance in 2010. And as I said,
Wow.
heard all this complaining. And my sense of him from talking to Bruce Bochy's manager was, yeah, Buster's a great guy. And other
Yeah.
teammates were like, Buster's a great guy. And that was complete opposite from the feedback I was getting from the producers who were walking with cameras, and Posey, in their eyes, he blew us off.
Yeah.
It's just that he wasn't aware. And I think we have to remember that for a lot of the players, especially in the postseason, it's the first time they go through something like that.